TV YouTube channel. And, of course, anything you miss here, you can find in the Buy a Toyota Audio Vault 24 hours a day. We've got a first-place baseball team taking on another first-place baseball team here in a summer when the Ravens are on the field trying to improve from 5-11. We're going camp to camp across the United States of America to 31 other places. This is a stop in Packerland and Cheeseland. He is the longtime voice, now 18 years, of the Green Bay Packers, where hopes are high, the cheese is fantastic, and Brett Favre's going to the Hall of Fame. We welcome Wayne Larrivee back onto the program. You can follow his journey out on Twitter at Wayne Larrivee on Twitter, and of course anywhere Packers gear is sold. And I know the cheeseheads are out on the bikes and all that good stuff going on in Packerland, but it's a week for Brett Favre as much as it is for hopes for the 16 Packers, right, Wayne?
Yeah, no question about it. Everyone's excited about Brett going into the Hall of Fame, and the team, many of his teammates from those years will be at that ceremony, including some that are still playing.
Well, and I guess no one's going to give a speech quite like Brett Favre, right? I mean, I'm looking forward to getting a bowl of popcorn and a beer and watching from high definition where I'm sure it'll be less hot and humid.
Well, I don't think it's going to be a short speech. So, yeah, get a bowl of popcorn and maybe a few pops, and you'll need it.
Well, I mean, having witnessed what he did from afar and you guys being up on it and going seamlessly, much like maybe the Colts whom you're playing this weekend, from one quarterback to another quarterback, I think it's a time for Here, we're all looking forward to the Ray Lewis. We all enjoyed the Jonathan Ogden, but that's part of the squeezing the juice out of the fandom is years later, you get these little trips to Canton and you get to relive some of those memories.
Oh, yeah, I think it's great for everybody, not just the player and his family, but the fans, because it's that one last hurrah, the one last chance you get to reflect back with that player on his career. So, yeah, I think it's great. I think it should be a lot of fun. And I've been to many of these ceremonies at Canton. And if you're a football fan, you owe yourself at least one Hall of Fame weekend in Canton because it really is special.
Well, we had a nice time with Ogden, but I know the Purple Nation's waiting on Ray Lewis to get there, and I'm sure all the cheeseheads are clamoring. You saw this whole thing from a different perspective, though, right? I mean, you were doing Bears games when Brett Favre was coming down to the Monsters in the Midway and trying to clean you out Old Soldier Field, right?
Well, for part of his career, yeah, the first part of his career, I was still in Chicago, and he had a meteoric rise, that's for sure. From a guy that nobody knew how to pronounce his name to all of a sudden he changed everything in the NFC Central Division and now the North, of course, and changed everything as far as the Packers are concerned.
So for this year and for what you've witnessed up in Cheeseland, and by the way, I like baseball, and I went to 30 ballparks in 30 days the other day, and I bumped into Peter King here in Baltimore. My buddy Brian Baldinger and a bunch of people I'm sure are mutual friends of yours do these camp tours and go to these places. You know, the one place I would go would be Green Bay, but I've made that pilgrimage up there for real football games. Sell me on coming to Packerland as a non-Packer guy to watch practices in the summer.
I don't know if I could. I mean, training camp practice is training camp. It's practice. What are you going to say? I think fans get excited to see the players out there and that type of thing. And it's become, around the country, not just in Green Bay, but around the country, it's become, a vacation activity for many families. And I think that's the best part of it, the interaction that they can have with the players a little bit, going to the training facility and coming onto the practice field. I think that's really neat. And it's such a tradition here in Green Bay. I think it's a good time to come to Green Bay, whether it's practice or game day. So, I would say that, hey, it's worth it coming to Green Bay for training camp because you get to do the Hall of Fame, you get a stadium tour, you get to eat at the 1919 Club, and, the whole bit. You can do the whole 9 yards. If you're a Packers fan, a tremendous mall of a pro shop for whatever you could think of. Packers related, it's there. So, yeah, this has become a great destination location.
I've been to 4 games at Lambeau Field now in my journey, including a NFC Championship game where it was like 4 degrees, the Favre Carolina Panthers game many years ago, now 20 years ago. But I haven't partaken in all that stuff, and I guess during your stay there, now over 2 decades, places changed dramatically. I mean, I know it when I pull into town, I see it, but I haven't done the whole Cheeseland Hall of Fame and all that stuff wasn't there 20 years ago, quite frankly. Not in the way it is now.
Yeah, not the way it is now. And, there's so much to do right in the atrium area of Lambeau Field. And they're building, a Titletown district, which will have a 4-star hotel and a brew pub and a Bell and Health facility and a major mall for activities in the community. That's happening on the west side of Lambeau Field, and that'll be open in about 2 years. So it's really amazing the things that have grown up around these football teams. I know the Patriots have done a tremendous job with their build up around the stadium, Gillette Stadium. It's not just about football now; it's about all kinds of entertainment opportunities and values around these teams.
365, and it really helps when you have a competitive football team. You know, the fans were down on Monday night for the Ravens to practice in their own stadium, and I think some folks were shocked. And one of the executives said to me, "Well, we're 5-11, and that's what happens. And you don't want to lose." And clearly, for the Packers, part of what they've built up from Favre to Rodgers is this perpetual. I can't think of a summer where I didn't look at the Packers and say they could win the Super Bowl this year. It's been a long time since that's been the case, and certainly this year. No exception to that rule, but obviously the Vikings have come on. The Lions have always been kind of hanging around, but the Packers look as good as any team in the Central, or the North, excuse me.
Oh, yeah. I mean, again, each year there are probably about 10 or 15 teams, as many as 10 or 15 teams that could jump up and make a real playoff run and maybe win a Super Bowl. And certainly the Packers are in that mix. And, there's not a lot of difference, really. People don't understand this, that in the NFL, there isn't as much of a difference in talent level from the Super Bowl winner to the last place team in the league. So when you talk about if you go into a season with a top 10 roster, you got a real shot at the Super Bowl. I mean, it's really, that's the way it has been here in Green Bay for a long time. And it will continue to be that way this year. The Packers probably one of the top 15 rosters going into this season, maybe top 10. And so they have as good an opportunity as anybody. And the key is getting to the playoffs, and the only two teams that have been to the playoffs each of the last 7 years are the Patriots and the Packers. You get to the playoffs, anything can happen. But the key there is you might be good enough to win the Super Bowl, but you've got to play well on those Sundays you're asked to play in January. And if you don't, it's just one and done. You're out, and it's no best-of-7 series.
Wayne Larrivee, the voice of the Green Bay Packers, joining us here from Cheeseland. And you can follow his journey out on Twitter, Wayne Larrivee. Call some other games and a real play-by-play guy for sure. For emerging players for the Packers, you look up and down the roster and you see Clinton Dix and obviously some more entrenched guys with Lacey and Cobb and Nelson and some skill positions. But certainly questions and health have been the biggest issues to be toxic for the Packers winning another championship, right?
Oh, no question about it. I mean, I think health is the major reason why there was such a drop-off last year. Start with Jordy Nelson's injury. Start with everybody on the offensive line banged up at one time or another. Go into the different aspects of how all those things snowballed into a season in which the Packers won 10 games but lost us. They won their first 6 games and lost 6 of their last 10. So, that's the type of thing that you can't quantify what health means to a football team in this league. It truly is a battle of attrition in the NFL. You try to build as much depth as you can, but the salary cap, the draft, everything is against you building that kind of a team on the championship level. So it's difficult, but I think you've got to be lucky health-wise to have a shot at it.
Well, we learned that last year. We lost Joe Flacco here, and making that sort of a comeback this year. Certainly, a lot of focus on all the teams in your division. The Vikings feel like they're the sexy team now, right? And having gotten one up last year, and certainly, sort of blew it at the end, quite frankly, and had their own chances to get to the Super Bowl last year. You see them a couple of times a year. They have been the most improved team, and I guess a lot of focus on Bridgewater. And I think Zimmer's built a pretty nice program there.
Well, I think he has too, and they are certainly the team to beat in this division. There's no question about that. Now, people get upset when I say that, but hey, they did it the hard way last year. I mean, they lost at home to the Packers, and then about 5 weeks later had to come to Lambeau Field for a one-game NFC championship, North Division championship game, and beat the Packers in Lambeau. So they did it the hard way. This is no fluke. The Vikings should have beaten Seattle. But didn't quite get it done on the missed field goal, the chip shot field goal. But nonetheless, it's a very good football team. And the key to the Vikings is if Teddy Bridgewater can take that next step to the next level of quarterback, look out because they've got a lot of other pieces in place.
All right, let's get to something really important here. Baseball pennant race. Word gets to me via your Twitter feed, Wayne Larrivee, that you're not even a closet Yankees fan. You're just straight out there in the pinstripes, and this has been a weird week to be a Yankees fan. How does it feel to feel what the rest of us feel to be a seller at the deadline? I mean, this has been a weird summer, right?
Well, we all have our crosses to bear, and the Yankees are mine, I guess, at least this year. But no, it's interesting to watch how Major League Baseball has changed over the last 15, 20 years. And my friend Bud Selig is responsible for a lot of it. I think the things he's done has made it, and not just not just the playoffs or some of the other things he's done, but the more subtle things in terms of how teams acquire talent and the restrictions that are in place now where, players, there's a salary slotting that goes into the draft, much like football, so that, a player, if he's going to be picked number one, can't say, no, I don't want to go to Kansas City, and he can sit around and wait for the Yankees to pick him 20-something in the draft. That can't happen anymore. So I think a lot of that has changed now the way teams are built, and it's not as easy to build through the draft and on your farm system unless you really get bad for a long stretch of time. So consequently, I really do, as a fan, like what the Yankees did this year. They had a lot of key pieces, and they parlayed them into prospects. And we all know the prospects are suspects until they actually get up to the big club and get into the lineup every day. But nonetheless, you've got to have enough of those suspects in your system to get you excited and to maybe put another crop of great players together. We'll see how it all works out, but I think they did the right thing by selling this year.
What do you make of my Orioles here, man? They can swing the bats. We need the arms, and certainly they didn't have the minor league talent to make some deals. This is going to be a great race. It's been a long time since there's been a real three-horse race, especially with the Yankees being out of it and them being banished. This is going to be kind of a fun 8 weeks. I have no idea how it's going to turn out. I mean, I've said it several times. If you give me $1, I would bet it on the Red Sox, but even after seeing the Blue Jays this weekend and the Orioles have some resolve, I think this thing's going to go right down to the last weekend of September.
I do too. I like Tampa. I'm sorry, not Tampa Bay, but I like Toronto. However, they got injuries. Boston has some pitching problems. They don't have a lot of depth in their starting staff. Same for Baltimore. Boston probably has nice balance, maybe the best balance throughout their lineup. You know that Toronto can hit home runs, and the Orioles certainly are a power-hitting team in that small ballpark they play in. They can ring up a lot of runs as well, but everybody's got a flaw, and there's no question whoever is able to handle their flaw and kind of reduce it in the next 8 weeks will win that division. But I think it's up for grabs, and right now Toronto would be the team, I think, because they've done it before, it has the inside track, but I wouldn't count out the Orioles, and boy, are they well managed.
Yeah,
There's some great managing in that entire division because I'll tell you what, I think Joe Girardi, with what he's done with the Yankees in the last 4 years, what he's doing with them this year, is phenomenal. That's the best manager in baseball for my money.
Well, in Cashman, we're going to find out. I mean, he's never really been able to evaluate other teams' gems and deal for them. I mean, it's one thing to open your checkbook and buy players. I mean, they've been decent at that, at least until recently with Sabathia and Teixeira and A-Rod falling apart, as we all would have predicted the day those contracts were signed. But I also think there's there's definitely a part of this for me that says, we're still living off of Andy McPhail fleecing the Mariners to get Adam Jones and Tillman and fleecing the Rangers to get Chris Davis. When you make those kinds of deals and they work out, it makes the Yankees kind of scary in 18 and 19 if indeed we look back on Monday's activities and say the Yankees made good acquisitions.
Yeah, really, this is the last year. The Yankees paid big bucks, as you recall, right before the 2009 season and got some big-time players to share Sabathia. Rodriguez was already there, but, I mean, they made big plays for free agents and won a World Series in 2009. And a lot of those contracts they couldn't get rid of, and so they played them out. This is really the last year they pay for that World Championship in 2009, and now the slate is pretty much clean. And we'll see. I know that Brian Cashman has wanted to do this for a long time. He fancies himself sort of like Theo Epstein, same kind of guy, as, a guy who can build a team, understands the minor leagues, invests heavily in the minor league system. They just haven't been able to put together enough talent. Now they've traded some major league pieces for minor league talent. Let's see how it pans out, but I know that Cashman's excited about it because this is what he's wanted to do for a long time. And I will say this. If teams like the Yankees and Red Sox are able to grow their own talent, look out because they will still have the finances to buy your talent as well.
Well, that's kind of the scary part with, Betts and Bradley and, what's happened there at Bogarts this summer, seeing those guys emerge, and it's going on all over baseball. I mean, we're talking about Machado and how much money it's going to cost to get Machado here, and Scope's having a breakout year as well. There's a lot of great players in baseball right now, as well as in the National Football League. Wayne, it was great chatting some Yankees with you, as well as, of course, the Green Bay Packers, and football can't start soon enough for all of us, and I know everybody here is excited. We'll be looking out for Brett Favre this weekend out at the Hall of Fame. It's always a great weekend. Enjoy yourself with your old pals out there, my man.
All right, take care.
You got it. Week. Wayne Larrivee, the longtime voice of the Green Bay Packers, headed to Canton, Ohio this weekend to call the Hall of Fame game as well, the Packers and the Colts, and Brett Favre going in this weekend, as well as a number of others, including Tony Dungy. So it's going to be a big hootenanny, as they say in Canton. We'll have our hootenanny 2 years from now. We had ours a couple years ago with John Ogden as well. It's always fun. People are asking me, you running bus trips to the Ray Lewis Hall of Fame? Of course. I mean, it's going to be one of the biggest weekends in Baltimore history. Every bus will be pointed west that weekend for sure as we get Ray Lewis into the Hall of Fame. In the meantime, we'll sit and, as I said, get some popcorn and a beer and sit around and watch. That's what I'm looking forward to this weekend. You can find me out in the Bayou Toyota Audio Vault 24 hours a day from anywhere in the world on your mobile device by downloading the TuneIn Radio app. Big reminder, Tuesday night we have head coach Brian Billick joining us out in Hampstead, Carroll County. We're going to be at Greenmount Station eating crab cakes, drinking beer, having fun, ordering delicious desserts, and I'm sure my wife will have a salad before it's all over with out there. We have a great time, bowl of soup. I love the apps out there as well, but the crab cakes are what it's about. Fried crab cake at Greenmount Station. I'll bring a couple home as well. We'll see you out there on behalf of the Living Classrooms Foundation, our WNST partner, Brian Billick, joining us in Carroll County at Hampstead at Greenmount Station. We are WNST.net AM 1570 and WNST Taos in Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports.